No one could have predicted this moment. The internet is in complete shock as Arionne Curry breaks down in tears after Martell Holt finally exposes what Melody Shari had been hiding all along. What began as whispers and rumors has now erupted into a full-blown emotional storm, and this time, there's no turning back. Cameras didn't capture the full pain behind those tears, but witnesses say Arionne was visibly shattered, her voice cracking, her hands trembling as Martell's words cut deeper than anyone expected. For years, people have speculated about what really happened behind closed doors, about what Melody knew, what she kept hidden, and what drove Martell to finally speak. Now, those secrets are spilling into the open, and they're shaking everything fans thought they knew about this messy love triangle. This isn't just another chapter in the love and marriage Huntsville saga, this is the reckoning. Martell's confession didn't just expose hidden truths, it tore open old wounds, forcing everyone involved to face what they've tried so hard to bury. And as Arionne's tears fell, the world couldn't look away. In this video, we're going to unpack it all. What Martell revealed, why Arionne broke down, and the shocking truth about Melody that has fans questioning everything. Stay tuned, because once you hear what really happened, you'll understand why this story just changed forever. It's a story that's kept fans glued to their screens for years, a tangled web of love, betrayal, and truth that has refused to fade away. At the center of it all stand three names that have become synonymous with reality TV heartbreak: Martell Holt, Melody Shari, and Arionne Curry. What started as a picture-perfect marriage between Martell and Melody, built on business, family, and success, soon unraveled into one of the most emotional and scandal-filled sagas in love and marriage Huntsville history. For years, Martell and Melody were the couple everyone admired, confident, charismatic, and unstoppable. But behind the smiles and speeches, cracks were forming. Rumors of infidelity began to surface, whispers that Martell's loyalty had shifted. And it wasn't long before those whispers had a name: Arionne Curry. What began in secrecy eventually became the affair that divided a marriage, a family, and an entire fan base. As the truth came out, the world watched the fallout in real time. Melody walked away, determined to rebuild her life. Martell faced public criticism and a wave of backlash, and Arionne, the woman caught in the middle, became the most controversial figure of all. Her name trending every time new drama surfaced. Years passed, but the tension never truly disappeared. Now, just when everyone thought the chaos had finally calmed, Martell Holt has reignited the fire with a shocking revelation, a claim that turns the entire story upside down. His words have reopened wounds that never fully healed and left both women facing a storm of emotions all over again. And this time, the reaction was immediate and raw. Arionne Curry broke down in tears, unable to contain the pain that's been building for years. Social media is buzzing, fans are divided, and the cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville is once again at the center of the storm. What did Martell reveal? Why did Arionne break down? And what truth about Melody has everyone questioning everything they thought they knew? This isn't just reality TV, it's real emotion, real heartbreak, and real consequences. And as the dust settles, one thing is clear: this love triangle is far from over. Martell and Melody Holt were once the picture of success partners in business, love, and life. Together, they built a brand that inspired others, a family that looked perfect from the outside. But behind closed doors, the cracks were already forming. What began as small arguments over ambition and trust slowly spiraled into emotional distance, resentment, and ultimately, betrayal. Their marriage, once the heart of Love and Marriage Huntsville, became its greatest tragedy. Then came Arionne Curry, a name that would forever change the story. She wasn't just a rumor, she was the reality that shattered the illusion of perfection. For years, Arionne lived in the shadows of their marriage, facing judgment, humiliation, and public outrage. Every headline painted her as the villain, but behind those headlines was a woman breaking in silence, a woman caught between love and shame, loyalty and regret. While the world debated and dissected her every move, Melody Shari chose silence. She didn't respond to every insult or defend herself in every interview. Instead, she built a wall of strength, raising her children, focusing on her music, and showing the world what it looked like to rise after heartbreak. But that silence carried its own weight. Fans began to wonder, what was Melody keeping to herself? What truth had she chosen not to tell? Over the years, this unspoken tension grew heavier. Every reunion, every live stream, every rumor reignited old pain. Martell's guilt, Arionne's heartbreak, Melody's guarded strength. It all became an emotional storm waiting to explode. And now, with Martell's latest revelation, that storm has finally broken. The secrets they all tried to keep buried have come rushing to the surface, forcing everyone to relive the pain they thought they'd left behind. Because in this story, no one walks away untouched, not the betrayed, not the betrayer, not the one who stayed silent. Behind every headline was a wound that never healed. And now, the world is watching as those wounds are reopened, one confession at a time. The breaking point came when Martell Holt finally decided to speak, not in a quiet conversation or cryptic social media post, but openly, publicly, and with a tone that was part anger, part confession. The moment his voice hit the mic, fans knew something was different. This wasn't the polished Martell people had seen before. This was a man who sounded raw, frustrated, and desperate to reclaim his side of the story. In a late-night interview that immediately went viral, Martell said words that no one saw coming. He accused Melody Shari of keeping something from the world, something she had hidden during their marriage and even after the divorce. His voice trembled between hurt and fury as he said, "Everyone thinks they know the truth, but they only know her version. There's a lot that people don't know, things that would change everything if they ever came out." The internet froze. What was he talking about? What was this secret that Melody had supposedly kept buried? Was this another attempt to rewrite history, or was Martell finally telling the truth? As the interview went on, he hinted at emotional manipulation, broken promises, and moments where he felt publicly humiliated while Melody silently played the victim. "I took the blame for everything," he said. "But people forget, there's always another side to every story." It wasn't just what Martell said, it was how he said it. His tone cracked with emotion. His words carried years of resentment and exhaustion. He wasn't calm. He was tired. He spoke like a man who'd been waiting years to be heard. And even if some didn't believe him, many couldn't ignore the pain in his voice. The revelation sent shockwaves through the fandom. Comment sections lit up instantly. Some said Martell was finally telling his truth. Others accused him of deflecting, of trying to drag Melody down now that his image was already damaged. But what truly caught everyone's attention wasn't the accusation itself, it was the aftermath. Because within hours of that interview, Arionne Curry, the woman who had been quiet for months, broke her silence. On Instagram Live, her face red and eyes swollen, she struggled to speak through tears. The emotional storm Martell had unleashed had reached her too, and for the first time, the pain she'd carried in private spilled into public view. Martell's words didn't just expose Melody, they exposed the entire history of heartbreak between the three of them. It wasn't just a revelation, it was a reckoning, one that reminded everyone watching that no matter how long you hide the truth, it always finds a way to surface. When Arionne Curry appeared on camera, she wasn't the confident woman fans had grown used to seeing. She was broken, raw, and trembling under the weight of emotions that had been bottled up for years. Her voice quivered as she tried to speak, her eyes red from crying. It wasn't the polished version of Arionne the world had picked apart on social media. It was the real woman behind the headlines, the one who had lived through years of love, shame, and public judgment. She tried to compose herself, taking deep breaths, wiping away tears that kept coming faster than her words. "I'm tired," she whispered softly. "I'm tired of being blamed for everything. I'm tired of being painted as the only one who did wrong." Her voice cracked mid-sentence, her hands trembling as she pressed them against her face. "You don't know what it's like to love someone who broke you, and still be the one everyone hates." It wasn't just tears, it was years of silence, guilt, and heartbreak spilling out all at once. Every insult, every meme, every judgment from strangers who thought they knew her story, it all poured out in that moment. She admitted she'd made mistakes, that she wasn't innocent. But she also said she wasn't the monster people made her out to be. "You think I didn't cry when it all fell apart? You think I didn't lose myself trying to hold on to something that was already gone?" The comments section lit up immediately. Some fans were moved to compassion. "You can feel her pain," one wrote. "No one deserves to be torn apart like that in front of the world." Others weren't as forgiving. "She's crying now, but this is karma," another commented. "She played a role in someone else's heartbreak. Now she's living it." Even those who had long defended her were divided. Some said she was finally showing the vulnerability she'd hidden for so long. Others accused her of seeking sympathy after years of denial. But for anyone watching, it was impossible to ignore the emotion pouring from her. At one point, she looked straight into the camera, eyes filled with tears, and said quietly, "I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted to be loved." The words hung in the air, Heavy and haunting, not just a confession, but a reflection of every wound this love triangle had created. The screen went quiet for a moment after her live ended, but the silence was louder than anything she'd said, because for the first time, fans saw Arionne, not as a headline, not as a scandal, but as a human being, fragile, flawed, and deeply heartbroken. And as her tears faded from the screen, one thing became clear. This wasn't just reality TV anymore. This was real pain. The kind that doesn't fade when the cameras stop rolling. The internet erupted. Within minutes of Arionne's emotional live, her name was trending across every platform. Twitter, Instagram, Chicky, and YouTube flooded with clips of her tearful breakdown. The reaction was immediate, fierce, and deeply divided. Some fans rushed to her defense, claiming they had finally seen the real Arionne, not the version edited for drama or portrayed through gossip, but a woman drowning in pain. "You can tell she's been holding this in for years." One comment read, "This isn't fake. This is someone breaking under the weight of her own story." Supporters shared snippets of her live with captions, like "Healing starts when truth hurts the most, and she's not perfect, but she's human." But not everyone was sympathetic. Critics flooded the comment sections with harsh words and reminders of the past. "She knew what she was doing." One user wrote, "Now she's crying because karma finally caught up." Another added, "Where was this emotion when Melody was crying on TV? It's too late to play the victim." Influencers and bloggers in the love and marriage, Huntsville community dissected every second of her live, comparing her tears to old interviews, analyzing her tone, and debating whether her breakdown was genuine or performative. Some pointed out that Martell's timing, revealing the alleged truth just before her outburst, seemed deliberate, reigniting old wounds for everyone involved. Twitter Spaces and YouTube panels went wild that night. Creators held live discussions titled "Arionne Finally Speaks Her Truth" and "Martell's Revelation: The End of Melody's Image." Fans argued back and forth, some siding with Arionne's vulnerability, others with Melody's strength, and a few suggesting Martell had manipulated both women for attention. On TikTok, emotional edits of Arionne's crying face went viral, paired with dramatic music and captions like "She broke the silence, but lost herself in the process, and when love turns to regret." The video views climbed into the hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, Melody Shari's supporters pushed back with equal intensity, defending her character and accusing Martell of gaslighting. "He's trying to rewrite history because Melody moved on." One fan tweeted, "Arionne's tears don't change the damage she helped cause." In the chaos of opinions and emotions, one truth stood out. The story had reignited every hidden emotion fans had felt watching this saga unfold over the years. Pain, anger, sympathy, exhaustion, it was all back. Everyone had something to say, but no one seemed to agree on what the truth really was. And through it all, one haunting image lingered online: Arionne Curry, head in her hands, crying in silence while the world watched, debated, and judged. A woman once at the center of scandal had now become the center of empathy and controversy all at once. This wasn't just a trending topic. It was an emotional explosion, the kind that proves that when it comes to love, betrayal, and truth, the world never looks away. As the frenzy continued to build online, everyone wanted to know one thing. What exactly was Martell talking about? What was this secret that he claimed Melody Shari had been hiding all along? For years, Melody had been seen as the strong one, the woman who walked away, rebuilt her life, and held her head high while the world watched her marriage fall apart. But Martell's words hinted at something deeper, something more complicated than anyone expected. In his interview, Martell didn't spill every detail, but what he did say was enough to make fans' jaws drop. He suggested that Melody's public image as a victim wasn't the full story, claiming that behind the scenes, she'd been keeping emotional truths from the public and from him. He accused her of hiding moments of her own resentment and revenge, of pretending everything was perfect long before their marriage began to unravel. "She knew things weren't right between us," Martell said in a quiet, tense tone. "But instead of fixing it, she started building walls, smiling on camera while everything at home was falling apart. People think I destroyed our marriage, but they don't know what she was doing behind that smile." The implication hit hard. Was Martell suggesting that Melody's silence had been strategic, that she had known about more than she let on? Maybe even emotionally distanced herself long before the affair went public. He didn't say it outright, but the hints were enough to send fans into a spiral of speculation. Some claimed he was exposing emotional manipulation, that Melody had quietly pulled strings to control the narrative. Others insisted he was twisting the story to make himself look better, trying to shift blame after years of being labeled the villain. The most shocking part came when Martell implied that there were messages and recordings proving Melody's involvement in things she had long denied. Fragments of conversations that painted a more complicated picture of their marriage. Whether or not those claims were true didn't matter. The idea of them was enough to ignite chaos online. Arionne, still emotional from her breakdown, later commented vaguely about it, saying, "I tried to tell y'all, I really did, but nobody wanted to listen back then." That one sentence was all it took to send fans into overdrive. For years, Arionne had been dismissed as the other woman, but now some began wondering if her version of events held pieces of the truth after all. Meanwhile, Melody remained silent, calm, composed, refusing to engage. Her fans called it grace. Her critics called it deflection. But the silence only fueled curiosity. What was she thinking? Did Martell really have proof? Or was this just another attempt to drag her back into the chaos she had worked so hard to escape? The truth, whatever it was, had now blurred the lines between right and wrong, victim and villain, love and revenge. This revelation didn't just challenge Melody's image, it shattered the audience's certainty about who was telling the truth. And as Martell's claims spread like wildfire, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just a battle of facts anymore. It was a battle of emotions, of reputations, and of stories that refused to die. The secret might never be fully revealed, but the damage was already done. Everyone involved had been exposed in one way or another, and the internet wasn't about to let it go. The fallout from Martell's revelation was nothing short of explosive. Overnight, the fragile peace that had been holding between Martell Holt, Melody Shari, and Arionne Curry completely shattered. Each of them faced a new wave of scrutiny, emotion, and consequence, not just from the public, but from within themselves. For Arionne, the aftermath was the most devastating. The emotional breakdown that millions had witnessed left her raw and exposed. While some sympathized, others weaponized her pain, turning her tears into memes and mockery. She went silent after that night, disappearing from social media for days, leaving fans wondering if she was retreating to heal or simply too broken to face the noise. Meanwhile, Melody Shari maintained her composure. She didn't respond to Martell's accusations directly, but her silence spoke volumes. Close sources hinted that she was focused on her piece, choosing to stay out of the storm entirely. Still, the headlines didn't spare her. Every outlet analyzed her every move, speculating about whether she would issue a statement, post a cryptic story, or address it on camera. For someone who had spent years building herself back up, this moment felt like a test of the image she had worked so hard to protect. Martell Holt, on the other hand, faced the sharpest backlash of his career. Many accused him of trying to manipulate public sympathy by turning his ex-wife's name into ammunition again, but others claimed he finally had the courage to speak after years of silence that he was tired of being painted as the villain in everyone's story. "I'm just telling my truth," he said in a follow-up interview. But to most viewers, his truth only deepened the chaos. The network behind Love and Marriage, Huntsville, reportedly saw a surge in engagement, more views, more debates, more emotional outpourings than ever before. But behind the ratings and reactions were three people whose lives were unraveling in real time. This wasn't scripted anymore. It was heartbreak, humiliation, and human emotion bleeding into public entertainment. Friends and cast members of the show began weighing in, cautiously choosing sides. Some defended Melody's grace and silence. Others expressed concern for Arionne's mental health, saying she had become the emotional casualty of a battle that never should have gone public. A few even suggested that Martell's new revelations might cost him everything: his credibility, his relationships, and any remaining goodwill from the fans. But beyond all the gossip and noise, the real tragedy was evident. No one won. The truth, whatever it was, had destroyed the little piece any of them had left. Melody lost more privacy, Arionne lost more dignity, Martell lost more trust, and the fans who once rooted for love were now left watching the slow collapse of three intertwined lives. In the quiet after the storm, one question echoed across social media: was it worth it? Because in the end, this wasn't just a story about infidelity or revenge. It was about the emotional wreckage that follows when love turns toxic and pride turns personal. What began as a glamorous reality show had become a mirror reflecting pain, regret, and the dangerous price of truth in the public eye. The revelation may have brought closure for some, but for Martell, Melody, and Arionne, it reopened wounds that may never truly heal by the time the storm began to calm. What remained was a silence that felt heavier than the noise that came before it. The story of Martell Holt, Melody Shari, and Arionne Curry had come full circle from love to betrayal, From fame to heartbreak, from secrets whispered in private to pain, broadcast across the world, every person in this triangle had lost something along the way. Martell, the man once celebrated as ambitious and charming, was now a symbol of how pride in poor choices can undo everything success builds. Melody, the woman whose strength inspired so many, carried the weight of public expectation, forced to be both survivor and saint in a story that never let her rest. And Arionne, once dismissed as the outsider, had become the face of emotional collapse, her tears revealing the toll of years spent living in the shadows of someone else's narrative. Yet even in the wreckage, there was something painfully human about it all. Behind the hashtags and headlines were three people learning, in the hardest way possible, that truth doesn't heal instantly, that love doesn't excuse betrayal, and that forgiveness doesn't erase what's been said in anger. As the cameras faded and timelines moved on to the next scandal, this moment lingered. Viewers were left reflecting on the real cost of exposing private wounds for public consumption. Was Martell's truth worth the tears it caused? Was Melody's silence her strength or her burden? Was Arionne's heartbreak the price of chasing a love that was never truly hers to begin with? The story may quiet down, but its echoes remain a reminder that behind every viral headline are real hearts, breaking in real time. Because in the end, this was never just about who lied or who loved more. It was about the painful truth that sometimes, the people we love most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. And as the dust settles, one truth remains undeniable. There are no winners in this story, only lessons, scars, and the hope that someday, healing will finally replace the heartbreak. Now it's your turn to weigh in, because this story has shaken everyone who's followed it from the very beginning. What do you think really happened? Was Martell Holt finally telling his truth? Or was this another attempt to shift the blame and rewrite history? Do you think Shari was truly hiding something all along? Or is this just a desperate move from a man trying to reclaim control of a narrative that slipped away from him years ago? And what about Arionne Curry? Was her emotional breakdown the cry of a woman broken by years of pain? Or simply the consequence of choices that couldn't stay hidden forever? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one of those moments where every opinion matters. Fans are divided, emotions are raw, and the truth feels blurrier than ever. Let's talk about it. If this story pulled you in, if you felt that wave of shock, sadness, or even sympathy, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Because this isn't the end of the story. The fallout is still unfolding. And trust me, the next chapter could be even more explosive. Stay tuned. Because when it comes to love and marriage, Huntsville, the drama never really ends. It just finds new ways to come back.